Hey there everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of the Archer Skills videos. In this video I'm going to go through the 3 skills, decoy, shrapnel arrow and concussive arrow. The latter 2 of these, they don't get much use by anyone really. One's a bit underused, we'll get to that later on in the video. The first one though, however, is very strong and gets used by everyone, and with good reason. So this skill is pretty much Archer's defense in one place, like it gives you almost everything you need. Now, originally, early on in the game, this skill was very overpowered. The decoy just had way too much health. Since then, there's been a little bit more balancing with pet damage, pet health, and it does actually die. So it's not absolutely everything you need in one place, but if you use it well, it will be your primary defense skill, and it will do a lot of the work. So as you can see, the duration of it is 10 seconds and the cooldown is 11 seconds when you've got it at 10 out of 99. Now bear in mind you've got a bit of cooldown reduction, so this is pretty much 10 seconds or less, so you're going to have this up constantly. There's practically no gap between the decoys, so as long as it survives for the full duration, you should be okay. The idea is you just place this between you and the enemies. So let's say there's some enemies up here, I'm down here, and then I put the decoy between us. Then the enemies will all attack the decoy and not me. As long as that can survive, I'm under no threat because I'm not going to be attacked at all. So you can see how it can very easily be overpowered if it's got too much health. But anyway, it is balanced quite well. And then just quickly talking, well I say quickly, we're going to go into the extra skill points. So between 10 and 99, what happens is the cooldown increases from 11 to 10, I was going to say 11 to 10. What I mean is 11 to 15. So there's then a window of, a gap between the two decoys, any two decoys, and you get this damage redirection from 0% up to 100%. What damage redirection is a little area around the decoy. So let's say I get it out now. There'll be a little circle which is invisible around the decoy, probably goes about this distance, and then as long as you're stood within that, the decoy will take damage instead of you if you get hit. That is if you have 100% damage redirection. If it's 50, then half the damage you take will be taken by the decoy instead of you. So that's two very different settings of decoy. There's either you go with the lower cooldown and you can spam it more, especially with the cooldown as well, you can spam it like crazy, but then you've got to have it between you and the enemies, or you can go with a higher cooldown and then you just need it nearby you and then you can tank with it. There's an additional thing as well, with the damage redirection, it's like a separate health bar on the decoy. So what you can do is you can put the decoy, say, just behind you. The enemies come, they attack you, and then after a little bit of time you run behind the decoy, and then they start attacking the decoy. And it would have worked down one of the health bars, but then the other health bar is still there, so the decoy will survive a very long time. You can use that, do that to help the decoys survive longer, and that's where having that damage redirection can help you use it in a slightly different way in some bits of content, where maybe it's dying too quickly and you want to use it like that. But it's very awkward, and I would say for general use, you want to have it at 10 out of 99. It's typically a lot better, because having that gap is too much of a problem. You kind of need a cooldown potion and stuff to use it effectively if you have it at 99 points. So I would recommend it at 10, and 99 just kind of opens up a few extra uses for it, and ways how it can help you maybe a bit more in certain bits of content. So I'm going to go show it in some combat now. I say in some combat, this isn't going to be proper combat because the enemies aren't actually going to be damaging me or anything. In hindsight, maybe I should show it in proper combat. But so it's the game is really laggy, or the videoing, sorry, is really laggy, this first half of the map. Hopefully it shouldn't be too bad up here. But now I'm going to show how you actually use it in combat. So when some enemies are coming at you, the best thing to do, rather than putting it directly between you and them, is actually off to the side of it. You'll see here when if I'm not getting knocked back, if I do it, say, over here, you can see all the enemies will get peeled off and attack that over there. They've got to run off to the side a bit to go and attack it, and then when it does eventually die, they've got to then run over to me to attack me. And that's the general idea. I'll show it a bit clearer in this bit here. So if I now put it over here, you can see they've got to take time to run over to that there before they can start attacking it, which means it's going to survive a bit longer, and then when they do destroy it, they've got further to run to come and attack me. That isn't probably the best example of how to use it, as in I'd prefer to show a little bit better, but hopefully it's given you an idea of how we use it. you don't want to put it right in the middle of a group of enemies, because if you put it right in the middle, it's going to die off way too quickly, and you're just going to have trouble because it gets destroyed, then they're all attacking you, and it's still on cooldown. You do want to rely on it as much as you can, because it will make your life a lot easier if you have a decoy out. So that's that skill, and I hope it's answered most of the questions about it and stuff. Screw runes, they add some really useful stuff. I'm not going to go into it in this video. It's going to be in my screw runes video, but some of them are very strong and very good for like PvE and stuff. This is basically just a PvE skill. PvP, it doesn't have much use right now, at least. There aren't really any screw runes which do very strong things. The base skill itself doesn't do that much, so it hasn't been revamped for PvP yet. But you know, if you watch my latest screw runes video for archers, I may be saying it's good in PvP there, because extra things have been added. The next skill to talk about is shrapnel arrow. Now this skill is a little bit weird. It's kind of just a damage skill that does area of effect, but nothing really that much else. So if you look at the base skills and stuff, this one does a bit more damage than the other ones, I believe. Although I may be wrong saying that. And then it just hits a slightly larger area, I believe. So it doesn't really do that much. When you've got the screw runes and stuff on the other skills, then they ultimately just become a lot better, and this skill doesn't have that much to offer. So I'll show you the base skill now, and you'll see it hits a little area, but not even that big, and then damage those enemies in that area. And then it does like a little damage over time, but it's not even that strong. So that's kind of the base skill. The cooldown is very low. That's fairly worthy of note, I guess. The screw runes, right now so far, they haven't really added that much. If you just look at a couple here, they basically just add extra damage on. They haven't done a lot with this skill. I would say it's the one skill on Archer class they haven't done enough with yet. But yeah, so there may be some later skill runes which have come out after I've made this video that then do a lot more with this skill and add some uses to it. Certainly the low cooldown means that if it has any cool extra effects with the skills, with the skill runes, then you can utilize it a lot. With skill points, I would probably recommend having it at 10 out of 99, because if a skill rune adds a really good effect on this, then you want to be able to use it as frequently as possible. But you may be able to push it a little bit higher and not have too much of a negative impact of a higher cooldown. So I will show this one skill rune because I've always thought it looks kind of silly. It creates loads of like balls that fly out when you attack an enemy. So with lots of enemies around, it won't be quite so obvious because the balls will hit things. But as you can see, there are a couple flying out. They fly out in all directions. It's kind of designed to be like a really big area of effect skill, but yeah, it doesn't really do much. So anyway, you could probably hear I'm slightly biased against that skill. I don't think it's that great. Concussive arrow. Now this skill is basically a stun skill, and that's what it's all about. And the stun is 5 seconds long with a 6-second cooldown. So it's a very reliable stun skill that you can use on things. Very important to note, it only hits one enemy. So unlike the other arrow skills, which all hit a little area, this one will only hit one enemy. If I get... hopefully there's still some of these guys who are spawning and stuff. Yep, we've got a couple of them. So if I attack in here, you can see it's only hitting one enemy. I think it hits a very, very tiny hitbox, so it can sometimes hit a couple if they're like bunched together like this. Yeah, it hit 2 that time. But anyway, that's what it does. One thing I find kind of funny about this skill is with the damage over time, this skill and volley, the 2 base skills, without screw runes in, that is, concussive arrow actually does more damage than volley does, which I've always found weird because volley is meant to be like the really high damage skill, but actually concussive arrow does more. But anyway, with screw runes on, that's totally not the case. This skill does quite reasonable damage, however, it's all about that stun. You want the low cooldown for that reason, and not taking it beyond 10 out of 99. The skill runes, they mainly add damage, but some of them turn it into like an area of effect stun, or they do some area of effect damage. So they're really good, and ultimately where you want to use this skill is less so much in PvE, because you've got those crowd control options of other things, and this is only stunning one enemy, unless you use like a area of effect stun or something. But like there's some other better options than that. So this is more for a PvP stun skill. where you can hit an enemy from range and stun them and then kill them off with other things, or like maybe chain it into silence and then, you know, finish them off like that. So that's what I'd recommend for this skill. It's more of a PvP one. Use it with a good Skurun and then stun them and kill them off like that. So I will show this. I don't think it's going to do much. Okay, let's show Dark Arrow in it, because I think this adds a bit of air effect damage. So yeah, there you go. So this is doing air effect damage. It's going to destroy those vases, or destroy a few enemies in a group. So yeah, you can see there, it's doing little bit more there. So that's these 3 skills. There's not much more to say about them. I hope it's been pretty clear. I'd recommend all 3 at 10 out of 99. However, decoy can go up to 99 for some extra interesting uses. But for general purpose, I would say 10. And then the Skuruns do a few interesting things with them, other than shrapnel arrow, which for now at least doesn't do that much. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in another one soon.